Welcome to the Health Leader Podcast, the podcast for bodywork practitioners seeking inspiration and knowledge. Hi, I'm Alicia Crook, and together with James Crook and Christine Knox, we'll explore the art, science, and stories behind healing touch. Join us as we uncover the diverse modalities, techniques, and innovations shaping the future of bodywork. Get ready to expand your skills, connect with a vibrant community, and unlock the hidden gems of this transformative practice. This is the Health Leader Co., where we illuminate the power of touch and embark on a journey of discovery and growth. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I'm joined by my amazing co-host Christine Knox and James Crook. And today what we're going to be discussing is some questions that we have been receiving through the Facebook groups that we administrate. So we started off this podcast with some Ask Me Anything questions from our amazing six-figure clients. And that got a few laughs. And we thought today that we would have a look through some of the groups to go, what is it that you guys might be asking and how can we answer? So hello, Christine and James.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Great to have you guys on with me today. Christine, you run a couple of Facebook groups. Do you want to share a little bit about those?
Oh, sure. Okay. The first one that I started running was massage therapists who love hot stones. So a bit of a theme there. And the other one that I run is scar tissue massage. So two different groups, two different sort of niche themes, but lots of lovely therapists, and they're always asking questions and posting in there. So it's pretty good fun.
That's awesome. And James, you help us run the Massage Business Support Network.
That's right. So it's mainly for the business side of things, for answering business questions, but it's got thousands of therapists in there from all over the world, all sort of answering each other, supporting each other, as well as us, of course, being in there and able to give people help as well.
So we have looked into these amazing groups that we all run together and look for some really great questions so we're not going to, it's okay if you've asked a question, it's anonymous. We're not going to be sharing your names. It's all good. You can stay safe. What we will do is just answer a couple of questions that we've seen multiple times that we think you guys might find fascinating. So our first question is about right now, there seems to be a number of cancellations. And so Christine wanted to share an amazing experience she had with her wonderful hairdresser that we thought might be an appropriate way to start to think about how to circumvent some cancellations that might be coming up for you guys at the moment.
Yeah, this happened to me for my last hair appointment. So I got in touch with them and changed my appointment. Bad client, but I rescheduled. And the girl on the phone said, okay, in order to do that, we just need a $50 deposit from you, Christine. Okay. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Gave her my credit card and she charged me. That's fine. Went to the hairdressers at the correct time, got my hair done, went to pay and they rebooked me. And then the girl said this. She said, oh, right. Yeah, you've got a deposit there. So what we can do is just roll that over to secure your next appointment. Or we can just take it off the fee for today. And I was like, huh? A little bit confused. And then I realized that I would have to pay the deposit regardless. And I went, oh, yeah, just roll it over. It's fine. So they just rolled over that $50 to secure my next appointment. And I was a bit like, ooh, interesting. I love that. Which kind of meant that, and I kind of looked around the hairdressers and saw all of these people in the chairs and went, oh, wow, they've got good cash flow. If, let's say, the 10 people who are in the salon, it's a big salon, all have a $50 deposit that they roll over for each appointment. And I'm like, oh, wow. Hairdressers are amazing.
They're so good at the business side of things, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm like, we can learn from them.
Yeah. And I love this idea because what it does do is, like you said, it gives cash flow. So it means the business has got, $500 just sitting in an account waiting to be used. And that could be used for product and, some of their marketing, maybe to get more clients in. Like there's so many ways that you can utilize that cash flow. But it also then says to you, Christine, as their customer, we really value our time, and we value you being here, and we want to hold your time for you, and we expect to get paid for that. And it says something to you, I think, and to their boundaries as their customer.
Yeah. I mean, I would get the deposit back if I ever decided to not rebook, but I would have to go in and get my hair done and then not rebook to get my deposit back. It's genius. It's genius.
Yeah. I like it too, because therapists taking deposits is not particularly unusual, but it's something a lot of people feel kind of nervous about. It's like if I put it on my online bookings and I ask them to pay a deposit up front, it might lower my bookings. Some people might not want to do that. But what I love with this is it's only the very first time you're ever asked for that deposit that it's going to be tricky. And every other time after that, it's kind of just rolling over automatically. So the person in that position, they've just had a massage, they come out, they're not paying any extra. They're not paying a deposit in inverted commas. They're just kind of making it clear that their deposit is already paid for. And if they don't turn up, the inference is they'll lose that. It's like the pain is still there of not turning up, but we've got a much smoother transition into having paid the deposit. I love it.
There's quite a big stick for not cancelling, only to reschedule. So I like it. I think it's good. It's clever.
So what do you think is the biggest barrier to massage therapists doing this?
Oh, well, I asked a few of my friends and they said, it is genius, Christine, but I haven't got the balls to do it. So that could be the problem. Like, we just need hairdresser size balls.
In order to be able to do it.
I wonder if those people are not charging deposits at all, because it's not incredibly common, but I do hear people saying, oh, I do charge a deposit. I charge $50 or 50% or something to book a thing. So is that more scary or less scary than what you're talking about?
I don't know. I didn't ask them if they're already doing deposits. Rats. I should have had more detail. But I did speak to a couple of other therapists that are like, yes, I do charge deposit, but we don't do the rolling over. And they were like, like that. And I was like, oh. So it is a kind of a new idea for us to do that. I think deposits were a bit of a new idea for us. And then a lot of us have adopted that. But then this is another idea on top. So rolling over the deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I like it.
I think it's great. We had another question come through the support network that was around what discount should I give for not-for-profits? And I think James was like, oh, I've got a story for this.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do think when I read this question, the person was obviously they care for this not-for-profit, but they were in the mindset of, I've got to give them a discount. The way that I'm going to support them is to discount. And I guess I just wanted to question whether that's even a valid assumption, really. And the reality is not-for-profits are still businesses for the most part, and some really big and very vibrant and exciting and wealthy businesses are still technically not-for-profit because they don't give profit to shareholders or owners or anything. They give it to community things. And if it's a business like that, if it's something that is not for profit, but they have cash flow, then in a way, part of their mandate is to support the community. They're probably going to be happy to pay full price. In fact, they might even want to pay full price for someone to come in and do massage for their staff or for, depending what kind of services they offer, for all sorts of different things. So it's not that you can't offer discounts. Like if you want to support someone, you can. But the premise of, a not-for-profit can't afford full price, I just think that's completely wrong. Lots of not-for-profits love paying. They love paying just like anyone else would. Or even if they don't want to pay, they're going to make a decision the same as any other business would. It's not that they want a discount. They're just going to be like, I'm going to use my money here and not there, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I am not a huge fan of discounting in any circumstances, but especially that not-for-profit thing. And I do think one of the general sort of rules we have around discounting and supporting people like that is that if you've got a business that's going well and you're making a profit yourself, you can afford to donate stuff to other people, right? You can actually say, I'm going to take one day a month and just work for free, or I'm going I don't know, give this one discount to this one type of client or through this channel, because the rest of your business and your client base and the other places that you're working are able to support you to do that really, really wholeheartedly. So it can actually be an expression of overflow, of abundance, to be able to give into those kind of places, which is a much more preferable way of doing it in my books.
It was interesting. I was speaking to one of my massage buddies this week, and she was called by an organisation from NDIS to see if they could have massage included in this particular one of their clients' packages. And she gave them a price to go and do mobile massage, and they came back and said, would you like to go a bit higher? And she said, sure. So she did. And then she worked it out. She's like, even if I'm charging $150 a session, which is what she agreed to put down, she's like, I charge $110 for in-house, and it's going to be at least 2 hours worth of work. So I'm actually undercutting myself by $60 by going and doing this. And she was like, no, I'm out. Not interested, don't want to do it. And I thought, gee, that's such an interesting way. Like, often we think so individualistically about that appointment or that client or that organization that sometimes we forget to look at the time factor. If this is a regular gig, if this is going to be a weekly thing or a monthly thing, there might be some cases that you're like, I'm willing to do it because I love this person, or I really like this client, or I want to help them, or we want to get more, and this is our niche. And sometimes you've also got to look and go globally, how is this going to affect my business in the long term? And is this a sustainable thing for me to be able to actually implement in my practice?
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's a really great way of looking at it. Look, another question that came up in the support network was around websites. And this is the kind of stuff that comes up regularly. People just sort of asking, what website software should I use, or how can I get my website found in Google? And I'm often answering this in the same way, because I do a lot of website work in what I do with clients. And I ran a design agency for like 15 years, did a lot of website building. And honestly, for most small businesses, especially solo therapists or people running small clinics, you only need something fairly simple. You might only need a homepage, a couple of other pages, and you can have a link off to some booking software somehow. So a website, it's really good to have one. So you appear in Google and you can give people a little bit of info and show what you look like, but it doesn't have to be fancy. And so the software that is most often used for that are the things that you subscribe to online. And they might be places like Wix or Squarespace or even WordPress. These are some of the really common big names. And you can Google those and find them. My preference across all of them is Squarespace. I just think it's got a really nice interface. It feels really good to use, and it's got some really beautiful templates you can choose from and that sort of stuff. WordPress is really great if you want to do something a bit bigger. Maybe you've got e-commerce or you're running classes and stuff. I don't know. WordPress is a lot more flexible, but because of that flexibility, it can also get a bit more complicated. So I generally say start with something like Squarespace or Wix or one of the other custom software that's out there. And then if you need to, you can graduate up to WordPress. Even that, it's keeping things pretty simple, but it's like that next level of growth. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think so. Why do you think websites are so important? Like, I do speak to some practitioners who are like, oh, I love my website, it's amazing. And then I speak to other people who are like, do I even need a website?
It's a good question. The thing that happens is that a website is part of almost every marketing interaction in one way or another. Not all the time, but quite often. Even if you think about stuff like social media, if I refer a friend, if I say to my friend on socials, oh, you should check out Christine, often what that friend will do is go and Google you, right? They'll just go to Google, they'll type in Christine Knox massage, and they'll see what comes up. And what comes up is your website, right? So it's your opportunity to have complete control over how you are actually presented to the world. Social media is great too. You can get listings on things. All that is great. But your website, you've got complete control over the design, the content, everything that's on there. And you can make it in a way that is like, here's me, this is what I love, this is some reviews, this is some testimonials, here's my services. Isn't this wonderful? Click here to book now. And we kind of have this little interaction, this little funnel that people can travel through step by step to create a booking. And if you don't have that, if you just have social media or just have other stuff, it's not like you can't get bookings, you can get some, but you're missing that kind of easy entry, that easy slide that just helps people to be able to actually check you out and then book in. So yeah, I definitely, like if you're really small, just starting up, maybe your website is not at the top of the list, it might be down a couple, but it's certainly worth installing into your business in that first sort of big marketing push as you start wanting to gather clients, because it's really valuable.
Great answer.
Mm.
Another interesting question that came through was all about income protection. And there were all sorts of great and wonderful, honest experiences and comments, etc. What I will preface this by saying, we are not insurance brokers. We are not the experts on this. Please find the right people who are qualified to give this kind of advice. But what we thought we would do is just talk about what we understand around income protection, and some things that you might want to consider taking action on if maybe you've found yourself injured or unwell and unable to treat and haven't yet got income protection. So I think the question that was asked was around somebody was having hand surgery and was just checking to see if they should have or if they thought about income protection and what other people had experienced. And so we have, we've taught as part of business coaching, sometimes the notion of income protection comes up. And what we understand is that in order to be paid anything, first of all, that you actually have to be paying yourself for at least 12 months. And it often means in wages. So a number of therapists will, they play their cookie jar, finance suite, which means that when money comes in, they just dip their hand in and take it out if they have a bill or they want to go shopping or something like that. And the challenge is if you're not actually making a transfer to yourself, and you've got to even check policies to see if owner drawings is enough, or if you actually need to have wages, because often it will be on wages. Essentially, income protection will step in and pay you, I think it's up to 75% or up to 60%, depending on what your policy says, of what you have been paid in a previous 12-month period. Having said that, you also need a doctor's, it says medical professionals, but what that actually means, for us, a medical professional is anyone who's a medical professional, but for what it means for income protection is a diagnosis from a doctor or GP to say that you are injured and are unable to work. Without those two things, an income protection claim can be very difficult to claim. And there was certainly some responses through the support network that was like, well, I'm really glad I had it because I was diagnosed with this chronic disease and I couldn't work, and I'm not so glad I had it because it was like you're trying to get a blood out of a stone, and everything in between, as I imagine all insurance companies can be. James, did you want to share a bit about your thoughts around this as well?
Sure. Look, I guess what you've got to think of is from the insurance company's point of view, they need to be able to see evidence of what they're insuring, and then they pay out accordingly. So when you look at things like your actual personal income, you've got to realize that income protection insurance is protecting your income. It's not the business. It's not the business's income. It's actually your income and your ability to work. So, for example, if you haven't been paying yourself, like you were saying, or if you're taking cash and not declaring it, the income protection will just not cover anything, because it's like, well, you haven't got an income, we're not protecting that, despite the business itself maybe having a huge turnover and that sort of stuff. And the other thing is that income protection is personal. It's not health insurance. It's not, I've got an injury, so I'm getting paid out. It's actually, I can't work and draw an income, so I'm getting paid out. Which means if you are a massage therapist and potentially something happens, I don't know, and the insurance company says, oh, you broke your foot, but you can still work, your hands are still good, they potentially can deny claims because technically you could still do the work, even though you might have chosen to step back. And that's where that whole diagnosis from a medical professional comes in, because you can't just go to them and say, well, I couldn't work. They've got to be able to have proof from someone that they deem legitimate and all that kind of stuff to be able to make that happen. And it is really divisive. When we ask this in the group, it's like one of our clients actually has had a chronic thing happen and claimed on income insurance, and it was amazing for her. She had this income while she was really sick and unable to work, and it was really, really great. And there's a bunch of other people who are like, I've not been able to work and I had this and this, and they wouldn't give me any money. So I kind of guess the way I've seen it playing out with other people who've claimed is that if it's really big and important, the insurance company will come to the table and they seem to go okay. But if it's more like questionable, it almost never goes the therapist's way. The insurance company is doing what they can to try and not pay out those more sort of smaller or more questionable kind of things. So, insurance is always about balancing risk, isn't it? Some people want it, some people don't. You never know what's going to happen down the track. So the decision is individual. But yeah, that's the kind of experience we've seen coming through from the therapists we deal with, I think.
And I think if anyone is considering income protection, speaking to a qualified financial planner is usually a great place to start, or an insurance broker. And that would be, if you're thinking, well, that's probably something I should consider, and certainly something we have always recommended if you're able to do it, because it is good to just have those things in place. However, what if you have been working away and all of a sudden found yourself in a position where you hadn't gotten around to income protection yet, and then found yourself needing surgery? Christine, what are some ways that you can think of that we could potentially get ourselves through a really difficult situation like that?
I really, my heart goes out to people in that situation completely. I mean, yeah, especially when they think that they're covered and perhaps just haven't had someone translate that small print and haven't done the things that they had needed to do. So yeah, I think that's a real tough spot to be in. And things that you could potentially do are create some income to see you through this tough spot. So perhaps things like renting out your room to somebody would work. Even getting a locum so that you are still able to have your clients looked after and create even a small amount of income there to, cover your costs would be great. Other things, what did I think? You could maybe do an affiliate scheme. So products that you're already selling in your clinic, pillows or candles or, products, skin products, that sort of thing. You could reach out to those companies and see if they could give you some sort of commission for selling them, with some gusto while we're incapacitated from surgery. Other things you could do, I think, you could write a book, maybe with good old chat GTP. You could, depending on where, how good your brain was working, if your body was able, it might take you a little bit of time, but you could do something like that. It's potentially something you could do. You could write blogs and do vlogs, that sort of thing. Yeah, there's lots of ways that you could potentially make some money. I think we just need to kind of open the box a little bit, and you could go and be a body for massage courses, see if you can get paid to be, anything like that. Yeah. I mean, if you're already teaching, you could run courses and, of course, create online products. These things do take a bit of time, though. So yeah. I think start with rent out the room. And some therapists might be like, oh, yeah, there's no therapist around here. Da, da, da. Well, then see if someone wants it for a photography studio or a painting studio or a nice quiet office space or something like that. There's lots of opportunity there if we kind of open our mind a little bit.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when we're sick or injured, we can kind of, our vision narrows. Like it's like, but I'm just got to get through this thing. And I think sometimes just better sit back for a second and have a look at what else, like what are the possibilities here if I look from a different perspective, what else is possible?
I also think it's important to consider that we're kind of talking about these things for someone who has just been injured and then has to take that time off very suddenly. But another type of income protection insurance, if I can put that in inverted commas, is to have some of those things in place already. Like we sort of saw this over COVID. A lot of the people who did okay, who thrived at times when they were shut down from physically treating, were people who were already doing stuff like running classes or were teaching, doing that kind of stuff, or had something else that they could sell and offer. Because at that time, those things were very much in demand because everyone was looking for that. And it's almost the same here. If even some reasonable percentage of your income, maybe 20% or 50% of your income is coming from some source that is not you putting your hands on another person, then that in itself will protect your income a little bit if your hands happen to get injured. So it's a good strategic thing to be able to put in place in your business earlier on as well.
Yeah.
Hey team, thank you so much for sharing your incredible wisdom today. We trust that what we've been able to share has helped to create or inspire even more vision in what it is that you're doing as a practitioner. That what we're sharing is helping you be able to tune in to the kinds of things that you care about in this industry. By all means, feel free to reach out to us if you're interested. If there's something in particular you would love us to cover in one of these Love Your Practice, Ask Me Anything calls, please feel free to get in touch, send us a DM. We would love to be able to look at that. Otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks heaps, Christine. Thanks, James.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Health Leader Podcast, hosted by James and Alicia Crook, together with Christine Knox, business coaches and modality mentors for massage and manual therapy. Elevate your hands-on skill and your practice to get incredible results at the Health Leader Co. Jump onto Facebook or Instagram and look for the Health Leader Co to connect. Also, please go to iTunes and rate us 5 stars so that even more people can access this podcast.